Hey everyone, good morning. My name is Jesus Burgoa, but you can call me JR, and this is Leon, CMO of Social Market.
Hey, I'm excited to do another recording. Got a little bit of a sickness, but I'm feeling much better. So I want to talk some crypto.
Yeah, of course. So actually, Leon, I think the biggest story this week has been more about tariffs more than anything since they kind of rolled on. However, crypto is still affected. So what I wanted to talk about was kind of like what we're seeing across the board as far as, tariffs affecting everything as well as the crypto kind of bouncing against it. So it's actually appreciating. Not as much, but it's still, going up a little bit. People are buying Bitcoin instead of just holding any other kind of cash or asset for that matter. But there's been a trade war going on because, and I'm not sure if you can kind of fill this up, Leon, but as far as I know, something that happened today, or as of yesterday, I believe, was that China actually increased the tariffs in the US by 125%.
Yeah, so it's been back and forth. I think Trump put a. I'm blanking on what he put on China. It was like a 63 or 83% tariff, and then China hit back with a 34, and then they upped it again, and then the United States upped it again, and then right now they're at 125%. Yeah, the
Yep.
it's been back and forth. They paused the other tariffs, and honestly, I'm a little whiplashed on whether the tariffs are still on or they're off. Some people were saying on Twitter that there were going to be tariffs again. It's been a lot of whiplash.
Yep.
I don't disagree with the China stuff totally. Like, China has abused the system, and they steal intellectual property. They
Yes.
do a bunch of cheap stuff, and they put American companies out of business. Now, Chinese make some really great stuff. DJI, like there's a bunch of them, but it's got some mixed feelings there because China is like a really big trade partner, but also they do a lot of stuff that they shouldn't really be doing.
Yeah. So again, IP infringement, it's one of them. You know, you, if, growing up in Mexico as well, I would see a lot of things imported from China, and a lot of them were like things from Disney to any other pop culture, toys or even, media or anything. Anything you can imagine that came from China, a lot of it was IP infringement. You would think,
Yeah.
"Oh, I didn't know Disney was making these kind of toys." Well, they're not. That's from China. So to your point, but you know, I think what happened was Trump started the trade war back in his first term. If you guys
Yeah.
remember, he would say China, China this, China that, anything China related. And back then I wasn't as much into politics as I am now. At least I didn't pay much attention. But as it turns out, the trade war officially skyrocketed this term. You know, that's been his main selling point. He's been wanting for
Yeah.
better or worse to impose tariffs, and that's kind of what affected everything. So now we went into this back and forth for God knows how many months now. China had enough, I guess, so they started to retaliate, and now I guess the court's on us. The ball's in our court.
Yeah, and the interesting part is to see crypto so affected. The first trade war, I don't know if I would call it war. The first one, I think it was just a little spat. This one much
Yep,
more looks like a war
exactly.
than anything. The impact of Bitcoin the first time was substantial, and it took like 6 to 8 months to rebound. It This time I also think it's following the market so heavily is because there's so many ETFs, there's so many things that are pegged to
Yep.
Bitcoin in the public market that you can do regular trading on that people are doing. There's also other ones that are just getting hit really hard. Ethereum is down like 70%. I think Sol was down like 12, Ripple like a bunch too. So it's kind of interesting because these asset classes were supposed to be agnostic from the traditional finance system, and watching them go up and down now, like an institution, is very much kind of a scary thing because it's no different than a stock now.
Yes. Well, sorry, you're talking about crypto being no
Yeah,
different than a
crypto.
stock?
It's just kind of turning into another institutional asset class.
Of course. And I think this was kind of the goal a long time ago for anyone being in this space, for it to be massively adopted. Now, a lot has happened, but of course, to your point, yeah, I mean, in the 7 days, we've seen it be in the negative for most of these coins. And these are the top 15 according to CoinMarketCap, which is, a very trusted institution. So it's bouncing. It's not like 10%, 5% down like the stock market is, or the biggest indexes. But, Bitcoin, it's still at 82, and of course, the all-time high we had was like maybe closer to 105 just in January, but it's not that far off. So that's something to keep eyes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I think that's as far as we have to say, or as far as I have to say, as far as the tariffs and kind of what's impacted. We'll see what happens. I really don't want to say anything more than what I don't already know. But what do you think, Leon?
No, I think that's it. I'm just really interesting to see, the crypto market essentially move with the regular market one for one.
Yes.
I wish it would not move as much because the whole premise of it is a little bit of, it's not just a regular stock market. It's feeling a little bit like it. But, a lot of that has to do with like BlackRock and others, and kind of flows into the next topic even.
Yeah, yeah. So, funny enough, just how we said that people are starting to buy Bitcoin and everything. And, we've seen that happen as well with like MicroStrategy, where Michael Saylor, whose whole identity now is Bitcoin, we're starting to see that shift as well, but on GameStop. I don't even know what their business model is anymore. Do they still sell games? Or are they just...
They're just a
getting into
meme
crypto
stock
now?
at this point.
Honestly, man, like it's so funny. But, to their point, I guess they see the trend, how people are mass buying Bitcoin, which, they're kind of late to the party, if I'm being honest. They are doubling down Bitcoin and expect to close more stores in 2025. So to me, I'm an entrepreneur, but, I didn't go to business school for this. I'm kind of just going with it as I go. But this almost seems like they're changing their business model, because if a company whose whole role model is to sell video games, they're closing stores, which they've been established for, even before I was born, I guess. What do you think of this? Isn't this already something drastic? And I mean, this article is from March, but, lately in X and Twitter, they've been just more on the trend about buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, the part that's weird for me is it really doesn't, and this is kind of like the business perspective. It doesn't tie, like crypto asset doesn't tie to them in any way. It really is something to maybe just make a random bet for them to see if they can keep their stock, up, and I think just drum up interest, to keep it as a like a reserve. Like it doesn't make too much sense to me at this point. Like,
Right.
it's not like they're buying up real estate and it was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense, but it's an odd thing to see, because again, there's no reason for them to buy it. What is their business model? The video
Yes.
games are going way more digital. Like even on the new Nintendo Switch, the little cartridges
Yeah.
or cartridges, however we pronounce it,
Yeah.
they're not going to actually be the physical game. They're just going to be like a license to download the game to your device. So more and more, GameStop it's not a relevant business model anymore. They're just trying to hold on, and somebody in the company is like, this is us buying it. But this is also ties to institutions are buying, and then that ties it to stock market more and more, which is good and bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, to your point, there's been more times in recent times where I've bought video games at Amazon, like physical games on Amazon, than I have at GameStop. I go to GameStop just to when I'm at the mall or at a shopping center. I'm like, oh, well, there's GameStop. Let's see if they have anything new. That's where I just go in there, window shop, and I just bounce. So, amid all that, what's interesting is that since GameStop has bought Bitcoin, their shares have actually gone up. They're probably one of the few companies whose stocks has actually gone up in recent time. And this was before that whole inside trading happened with Trump and him posting on Truth Social. And, I don't know if you saw that, but, that's probably something we can also talk about a little bit. But, Trump just yesterday, like Thursday, April 10th in the morning, he said now's a good time to buy, and then people were buying the indexes, certain stocks, I guess. And then he announced a 90-day tariff pause. So
yeah, there was also a lot of futures trading happening before the announcement happened from Trump on the pause. So yep. I believe Congress has a disclosure deadline of May 15th. A lot of people think that Congress was the folks trading. We'll kind of see where all of this happened because, the jump in futures, even on the GameStops, there's a lot of futures at strike prices at like $30, $33 coming in May time. So there might be another run on GameStop a little bit. So there's a lot of volatility and there's a lot of stuff happening that honestly it's very hard to keep up.
For sure. Yeah. So I mean, in this article that was written by CNBC, which, legacy media, but, this article was still pretty relevant to me. It says here, the meme stock jumped 11.7% Wednesday following the news. So people are buying, and, even traditional legacy news calling GameStop a meme stock, that is pretty telling. So at this point, maybe it's just a meme company, maybe it's just a vibe company as far as their business model and whatever they're trying to do. Their vibe businessing.
Yep. Doesn't rhyme like vibe coding, but it's close.
We're minting the word meme vibe, or I'm sorry, vibe company or vibe businessing. Yeah, vibe businessing. Yeah. We're minting it. But yeah, I mean that's generally what we have to say about GameStop. But for our last story, actually, we wanted to talk about MasterCard and MetaMask coming together. Have you?
Yes. I think it's only in Argentina at the moment, right?
Yes. So currently, we have MetaMask actually launched everywhere, or it announced that it was going to be releasing a MasterCard or a debit card, I'm sorry, in South by Southwest, which was just last month in Austin, Texas. I couldn't go there this time, but it actually officially released in Argentina. So I'm guessing people just had first dibs in Argentina from what it seems. But,
yeah.
MetaMask is a pretty big and pretty well-established crypto wallet, digital crypto wallet. It's mostly available on a browser extension as well as a mobile app. And this is not an endorsement to MetaMask, don't get me wrong. I wish they could pay us to say this, but I've been using MetaMask for a while. I actually do have the debit card that's digital, and it's nice. I like it. The 1% cashback on USDC purchases is pretty bad, however. Like, I only use cards because of the cashback or because of the rewards, and 1% is kind of mediocre, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's very basic, and they're probably it's a debit card. On a debit card, that's a pretty good deal. 1% back. If it was a credit card of some capacity, like the crypto.com credit cards, where if you have more assets, you get more cash back and stuff. But I think it's just kind of showing that crypto is becoming more of a spending currency, and the currencies that they're supporting are like they're mostly stable coins, if I recall right. It was USDC, USDT, which is Tether, and then the other one, which is
Yep.
WETH on the Lena network. I had not heard about that one, but I like to see more of this because then people are actually going to be spending their crypto. That's not just becoming, like to that first conversation, that first topic. It's not just an asset class. It's actually, something that people are spending, something that they're using as a utility. It becomes more like that versus just like a digital gold for every single crypto.
Yes, exactly. And I agree with everything you said. The thing is the whole purpose of Bitcoin or crypto is to accelerate or to upgrade the financial system that we've had for a long time. Paper money, it's not exactly that useful. I mean, sure, we can buy things with it, but, it's caused a lot of inflation. You can easily just print out more of it. And I don't want to make this a whole, lesson or lecture about Bitcoin or anything, but this is this is great. We're actually using crypto the way it should be. We're using it on everyday purchases, even though, the 1% cashback could be better. But to your point, the debit card, it being available on a debit card is great because, no other debit card offers or hardly any offers any cashback. So, I think in a inflationary state country like Argentina, where they're having so many issues with money for God knows how long now, maybe that can cause some change. I know people
Yeah.
who've gone to Argentina, they do opt in to using Bitcoin or any other crypto, or in this case, probably USDC. So this guy on Reddit left a good review, saying, hey, what do you think? This is what I think about the MetaMask card. So you can read this for yourself, but what I want to highlight right now is what he liked and what he didn't like.
Yeah.
So it's easy to set up. You have a quick know your customer process, faster than most banks. The wide acceptance works wherever MasterCard is accepted, so no need to worry about which stores support crypto. And then seamless spending using USDC to pay directly feels like a major win for crypto adoption. Yeah, so overall, using the crypto card is really easy. Everybody already uses, anyone who's in crypto already uses USDC to some capacity, whether you're paying someone, whether you're moving money, so on. It's already a pretty standard in the space. And MasterCard, it controls, everybody uses MasterCard. Businesses, you know, consumers, you name it. So what this guy didn't like is that there's a lack of EUR stablecoin support, or other words known as EURC or Euro. If you're spending in Europe, you're stuck with MasterCard's conversion rates for now. And then the gas fees, each transaction has a small gas fee around 0.015 or 0.035. So you're spending about 1 to 3 cents, which can add up if you're using it often. So
Ooh,
I
I
don't
don't know
even
about
know.
that gas fee. That's kind of normally, on the networks they pass those on to merchants. So it's kind of interesting that
Yeah.
the consumers burdening that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess because crypto, I mean, first of all, businesses are always going to want to save a dollar or even a couple of pennies wherever they can. But I think people are so used to paying gas fees. It's like, you know, that's nothing new. I'll do it just to do whatever I want with it. People have spent so much, like back when NFTs were a big thing, people were infamously spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars in Ethereum on transaction fees alone, back when the network was like, saturated.
Yeah, it was
But
so congested.
yeah, it was very congested. And for this, stablecoin is really fast. Like the stablecoin USDC network is really fast. I'm honestly surprised that Euro or EURC isn't available in Europe. That can cause some issues because conversion is already significant when it comes to dollars and euros. So, we're probably gonna have to be not using this card if you're in Europe.
Yeah, I think it'll come on support wise for them at some point, but it's gonna take a little bit of time.
Exactly. So, the other thing the last thing I have for everyone here is if you go on Twitter and you look up MasterCard, or MetaMask card, you'll pretty much get the details and everything. This is how the actual card looks like. So let me see if I can maximize this. Do you hear that? It's so loud.
No.
Oh, yeah, I have a big monitor. So this is how that card looks. It's a pretty nice card, and it has even tap to pay. So yeah, I think this is here in the US because people who went to South by were the ones who were already having the card to begin with, but Argentina, it seems like it's actually dropping there next. I signed up for the card since South by when I first heard of it, and I still haven't received it, so I'm guessing it's going to be on a you know user pool basis sort of thing. But yeah, this is pretty much what I have as far as the MasterCard and as a whole for this episode.
Cool. I will put all this stuff in the show notes too, that you guys can go look and read and see the Twitters and the articles that we pulled up too.
Great. Yeah, we'll let you guys know of anything else that happens next Friday, and until then, we'll be seeing you. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend.
Bye.